What's up everybody, welcome to another episode of China Update, where I provide you guys with the most up-to-date political, economic and geostrategic analysis on the world's number 2 economy. My name is Tony, let's jump in. Okay, happy Thursday everybody. First up, I just want to quickly say I'm still waiting to see how Beijing reacts to the situation in Kazakhstan. There was only an official statement made by China about an hour or so ago. I think the unrest there took Beijing very much by surprise. I'm hoping to provide you guys with more thorough and decent analysis tomorrow. So we'll be discussing China's reaction to Kazakhstan tomorrow. But first up, statements from key economic decision makers this week reflect a sense of concern for the economy as China moves into 2022. At a symposium on the implementation of tax and fee reductions yesterday, Wednesday, People's Republic of China Premier Li Keqiang expressed that the government must tighten its belt to give more benefits to businesses and energize the market, and that central government finance will intensify efforts to provide greater transfer payments to local authorities so as to make up for possible funding gaps at the local level. Local governments are drivers of debt-fueled growth as they allocate capital to public works projects, but already saddled with large amounts of debt and starved of funding with the collapse of land sales, a result of the deleveraging efforts against the property market and the collapse of Evergrande, local governments are increasingly having to choose between lower economic growth or extra budgetary funding, which typically means more debt. At the same meeting, Li Keqiang reaffirmed Beijing's plan to slash taxes for small businesses and manufacturers, expressing, quote, "On top of extending tax cuts that have expired, China must deepen the cuts with more deductions for research and development spending," end quote, and that the Chinese economy faced, quote, "complicated and grim internal and external environments," end quote. Leading financial commentators domestically are concerned too, with some influential voices calling for a return to the path of economic liberalization. Chinese financial media outlet Caixin Media, in a special editorial piece looking ahead at 2022, made the following observation this week, quote, "At present, downward pressure on the economy is building, and COVID is sweeping through Xi'an. The service industry has been dealt a severe blow, and real estate companies are facing a mounting debt crisis. To achieve stability, we need sound risk management and to deepen our understanding and respect for the laws of the market economy," end quote. Although it is too early to tell for the 13 million residents of Xi'an who have been under a strict and at times very trying lockdown for over 2 weeks now, there may be some light at the end of the tunnel. But like I said, it is too early to tell at the moment. On Wednesday, the National Health Commission announced that Xi'an only had 35 new cases, down from 95 the day before. Health officials said that they have, quote, "basically achieved the goal of halting community transmission," end quote, because the new cases were among people already quarantined. However, this number did jump back up again on Thursday, today. Respected Washington-based China analyst Bill Bishop on this point observed today, quote, "There is some criticism that they have halted community transmission by moving all the folks in quarantine outside the Xi'an city limits. But if that allows the city to begin to relax its restrictions and life to return to normal, then it is a political and policy win in the end," end quote. Today, Thursday, state media claims that in Xi'an, officials have been punished after a video which gathered hundreds of millions of views on the Chinese internet before being removed showed an 8-month pregnant woman miscarrying because a hospital refused her entry without a COVID test. As well as Xi'an, new cases are also being discovered yesterday in the northern province of Henan and the eastern province of Zhejiang. Indeed, state media reports suggest that Henan may be following Xi'an soon, with the state-run Global Times publishing, quote, Central China's Henan province has stepped up efforts to control the latest round of the COVID-19 outbreak, as all cross-provincial travel was paused on Wednesday, while several epidemic-hit cities have sealed off key regions and partially suspended schools and public venues to curb the virus's spread, end quote. Henan is home to about 100 million people, and by the looks of it, we will likely need to discuss the situation there in more detail tomorrow too. Meanwhile, in Hong Kong, in a radio interview on Wednesday, the city's leading microbiologist said that a fifth wave of the pandemic in Hong Kong, quote, has technically begun, end quote. Later that day, Chief Executive Carrie Lam expressed that, quote, we're on the verge of another outbreak, end quote. Strict social distancing measures in the special administrative region have been reintroduced. Okay, next up, Tesla and new energy vehicles in China. Quickly, if you're enjoying the episode, don't forget to hit the like button. It's the only way this video can be shown to new people. And if you're watching this for the first time, you're getting some value from the episode, maybe consider subscribing, hit that bell notification, and you'll have the most up-to-date analysis when I release these every day. Okay, let's move on. According to a notice published over the weekend by China's State Administration for Market Regulation, United States electric vehicle company Tesla is recalling about 200,000 cars sold in China due to, quote, front hood and rear truck issues that could raise the risk of collisions, end quote. This notice came just one day after the U.S. National Highway Traffic Safety Administration announced recalls of almost 500,000 Model 3 and Model S cars in the United States for the same reason. The Model 3S specifically are being recalled due to the risk of rear view cameras being disabled. Tesla will inspect and fix the problems free of charge. Despite all this, investors continue to be bullish on Tesla's future in China, currently the world's largest electric vehicle car market. Meanwhile, according to the China Association of Automobile Manufacturers, China continues to reduce its very generous subsidies for electric cars. And I mean generous. A Tesla Model 3 here is almost half the price of a Tesla Model 3 in my home country of New Zealand. The China Association is working towards the goal of phasing out subsidies for electric cars and other new energy vehicles completely by the end of the year, 2 years earlier than previously planned. This is mainly due to a huge increase in sales of electric cars in the calendar year 2021. The Ministry of Finance announced that effective from last Saturday, subsidies for personal or commercial new energy vehicles have been reduced by 30%. With an eye on China, today, Thursday, Japanese Prime Minister Kishida and Australian Prime Minister Morrison held a virtual summit to sign a landmark defence pact between their respective countries, which, according to the Australia-based Sydney Morning Herald, will, quote, immediately look to boost joint military exercises, including complicated air-to-air refueling operations, end quote, and, quote, lead to more maritime war games, military aviation exercises, and the stationing of troops in each other's countries, end quote. Japanese media outlet Nikkei Asia writes too that the so-called Reciprocal Access Agreement will enhance collaboration between the Japanese Self-Defense Forces and the Australian Defence Force, including, quote, facilitating faster deployment of defence personnel and easing restrictions on the transportation of weapons and supplies for joint training and disaster relief operations, end quote. A popular Chinese military commentator, Song Zhongping, also noted that the agreement gives Japan an opportunity to, quote, join the Quad and Quad's military resources weapon sales. Exchanges of military technologies from Australia, the US, and the UK will be open to Japan, end quote. And, quote, there is no doubt that the agreement is targeting China, end quote. Beijing is not too pleased with the Defense Pact, with People's Republic of China Foreign Ministry spokesperson Wang Wenbin rather diplomatically expressing, quote, we hope the Pacific Ocean can be the ocean for peace and not the ocean for someone to make waves, end quote. And state media expressing that any challenge to Chinese bottom lines will result in, quote-unquote, countermeasures. And last up, the Evergrande triggered housing crisis in China. Chinese property developers, especially the likes of Evergrande, Kaisa Group, Shimao and others have had a tough 2021, but their true challenge will come in 2022, and as soon as this month. According to Bloomberg calculations, this month, January, China's property developers will need to find at least $197 billion to cover maturing bonds, coupons, and deferred wages to millions of migrant workers, and they need to do all of this in an environment where funding is far more restricted and expensive, and with both low investor and consumer confidence. Developers have received marching orders from Beijing to meet payrolls for millions of migrant workers by the end of the month. According to data by the China Real Estate Information Corp, the combined home sales of China's top 100 developers fell 3.5% from a year earlier to 11.08 trillion RMB in 2021. 80% of the firms failed to meet their 2021 targets. Evergrande itself saw sales collapse last year, with December sales down an incredible 99% year-on-year, presenting enormous funding difficulties for the crisis-hit and debt-ridden company. As we know, this week Evergrande received a rude welcome to the new year with an order to demolish 39 almost complete apartments on an island in Danzhou, southern China. Hey guys, I'd love to hear what you thought about some of the updates we covered in today's episode, so throw your comments below. Always love hearing from you. Thank you for watching. I'll see you next time.